But welcome to our October, our fall series. We are diving in to setting up our goals, setting up our 2024 for success, which is important whether you're a new agent, experienced agent, it really makes no difference. This is something that you should be doing. And you're like, Amy, it's October. If you haven't heard me yet, I am a huge advocate of setting up yourself for success in October for the coming year, which means that by the end of October, you're going to have your business plan put together and ready to start working on that business plan come the beginning of November, which means that you can work out all the kinks and get everything kind of flowing in the right direction so that by the beginning of December, you're rolling with it. You've got kind of everything going in the right direction so that you can begin hitting your goals, putting things into contract to hit your closings starting at the beginning of January. So when we look at a real estate calendar, it really should run like December to November. The reason I say that is that if it's not in contract by the end of November, it's not closing this year. So, and even then, it's kind of questionable. We've got holidays and closed offices and all sorts of things going on come the end of November and then into December with Thanksgiving and Christmas and New Year's and all the stuff that leads up to that. So ultimately, if it's not in contract by the beginning of November, you should probably count it towards next year's closing. So that's why we want to focus in now on setting up our goals, putting together our plan, and enacting that plan by the beginning of November. So previously, I shared the spreadsheet with you. Let me grab the share link and I'll throw it in the chat box again in case you don't have it. I highly recommend that you click on the link at some point if this is something that interests you and that you, there you go, it's in the chat box, and that you save a copy of this to your own Google Drive so that you can edit it. So when I share it with you, you're going to get view access only. In order to edit it, you just need to save a copy of it. And I am going in here and updating it. So you may want to kind of play with it, but you may want to stay tuned also for those updates. So previously we talked about putting together your values. That's kind of how we opened the month, was putting together your values and defining your why. So there's a sheet in here for that. And then last week, I think it was last week, we talked about our dream life form and the economic model, right? Putting in here and defining what your goal looks like monetarily for 2024. Instead of just picking something in abstract, right? Like, oh, I want to make 120,000, or, oh, I want to have 27 closings, right? Like, why do you want to get there? Because if it doesn't have something driving it, then you're going to lose momentum at some point. And either that's going to be, in fact, my first year when I went full-time in real estate, I'd been part-time for a while, making decent money, but not anything exciting. And then the year I went full-time, I said, I just want to make $100,000 in real estate money. And what happened was when I hit probably about 70,000 in income, that's really all I needed in order to meet my goals for that year realistically, right? So I had this goal of, I want to close 100,000. And why do I want to, I don't know. It sounded like a good round number, right? That's a good goal. Like, I want to close 1 million. I want to close 100,000, whatever that is. So that was my goal, was 100,000. But when I got into that like $70,000 range, subconsciously, I quit. And that's because I'd done enough to do everything that I realistically wanted to do that year monetarily. Like, I was able to get the things that we wanted to get. We were able to pay off things that we wanted to pay off. Like, that was our goal. Our real goal was 70,000. And even though I had stated that, hey, my goal is 100,000, subconsciously, I knew that I only needed 70,000 in order to get by. And so again, I just quit, and I didn't even realize that it had happened until it was too late. So that's why we talk about like defining a real goal, like putting something behind it. And is money everything? Absolutely not. But it does get us where we want to go, right? Unfortunately, everything costs money. Even if you just want to take time off and like spend time with your family, that ultimately costs money, because if you don't have money coming in, you need to be paying your bills with something, right? So that's why we have our dream life form that you should be filling out. The top section is our life by design. This is our dream big. This is our thrive. These are our big goals. Like, in addition to surviving, what do we want to accomplish, right? So we covered this in the previous trainings. there's the personal expense section, there's the business expense section, and then there's our Life by Design, our dream big thrive type goals. It totals it all over here for you. You only fill in the yellow columns. And I did mention, in case you missed it, on the gross average commission, if you don't know your current numbers or you don't have current numbers to go off of, I would probably calculate it based on like a low average for the area, like 550,000 at 2.5%. And then you may want to subtract right here, take your average commission and subtract the transaction coordination and the Realty One Fox Group transaction fee out of there. So that it calculates it out. And then it'll kick in how many transactions you need to close in order to hit your goal. So let's just say that, hey, we want to go on a $120,000 vacation. I'm just simplifying it. Here, we'll make it simpler. Let's say $100,000 vacation, and I don't pay most of my expenses. Somebody else does. So I have $10,000 in personal expenses, and I have $12,000 in, oh, this is monthly. So hold on. $1,000 a month there. Let me fix this. $1,000 a month here. Okay, so that's going to put me at, we're going to adjust that just a little bit. It really doesn't matter. All right, so $100,000 in like bonus stuff, home improvements, paying off debt, vacation. We were talking, I made a joke, like maybe you wanted to get like a really fancy dog. So maybe that was your line item on here. Like it really doesn't matter what goes on here. Then you're going to factor in your taxes, so 25%, right? Once we plug in our average commission, then it's going to tell us how many transactions we need for our business and survival and personal expenses, and then for our Life by Design, and then totals those up. So if I want to make a total of 161,333, that's the all three columns combined, factoring back into taxes, I need 12 transactions. Okay, so that's just important because moving forward, we need that number. Okay, so that's where you should be at this point. Again, there's a full training on this. I show you how to use this form, which coincides with this economic model form, which breaks it down even further. So you need to work through both of those forms. And then we're going to move to the next one, which is our GPS, or our goals, priorities, and strategies. And diving into this week, which is our plan this week, is we're going to simplify this down for you. We're going to dig into it a little bit more tomorrow. Okay, so today we're looking at the big picture, like as a whole. I'm going to need 12 transactions. What do I got to do to get there? What methods am I going to use to get there is where our focus is going to be today. Tomorrow, we're going to drill that down a little bit further. Okay, so on our goals, priorities, strategies, it's also called a GPS, right? GPS, goals, priorities, strategies. It used to be called a 1-3-5. And the reason that it was called a 1-3-5 is that we had our one big goal, and then we would have 3 priorities and then 5 strategies. It doesn't have to be a 1-3-5. It should always be a 1 something something, but it doesn't have to be a 3-5. It could be like a 1-5-5. It could be a 1-5-7. It could be a 1-2-3, right? It really doesn't matter. But for our planning purposes today, once you complete that Dream Life form and the economic model, then we're going to move over to our GPS. So as I said, I needed 12 total closings, right? 12 total closings. And let's circle back to the economic model real quick. It feeds over from the other form. The reason I'm doing this is that it's actually going to take it down and break it into sellers versus buyers. So realistically, if I need 12 closings, I need 13 buyer appointments and 4 seller appointments for a, hold on, my split right now is set up. The ratio of buyers to sellers, 25% of my business is going to be sellers, and 75% is going to be buyers. Okay, and you can change that. So I could go, hey, I want 30% sellers. It'll automatically adjust it. And then as we scroll down, it's going to factor in what our average sales price is, what our average commission. It's going to break it down to a number. So when we look at like sellers, then it's also going to break down like, hey, if we have this many signed listing agreements, there's probably going to be some fallout in there. Something's not going to sell. Somebody's going to cancel because they decide they don't want to sell, whatever. So if I need 3 total sold listings, I need 5 appointments, which should result in 4 contracts, which is 3 closed, right? Same thing with buyers, 12 buyer appointments, 11 total buyer contract signed. That would be your BRBCs for 8 total closings on buyers. Okay. Everybody see how we get there? Okay. So when we go to the next step, we may want to look at it on appointments versus closings. And the reason that I say that is then we're factoring in like the big picture. I actually need this many appointments. The rest will fall into place. So ultimately we need 12 plus 5 is 17 appointments. Okay. So when I go into my GPS here on the top line, I need 17 plus appointments, which is going to equal 12 plus closings, right? We're just summarizing our goal that we put together on the other page onto this form. So we need, and we always put plus, right? We would always take more than 17 appointments or always take more than 12 closings. So we're not going to limit ourselves at 17 or 12. We're going to go above and beyond that. So minimum 17 plus appointments, which is going to equal 12 plus closings. Okay. Is everybody on board? Do I get a thumbs up?
Yes.
Okay. Perfect. Okay. And again, I'm trying to simplify this for you all so we can make it really complicated or we can make it really simple. So my next line here, my priorities, we have listings, we have buyers, and what do I need to learn, grow, know, and do, right? Kind of like the be, do, have. So again, we talked about listings. It was going to be 5 listing appointments, I think. Let's go back to our economic model. We have 5 listing appointments and 12 buyer appointments. So 5 listings and 12 buyers. Okay. Then what we need to do here is when we look at our listings, where are those listing appointments going to come from? And if you've been around me at all, you know that it all comes down to lead gen, right? We have to lead generate, and we should all have 5 legs of lead generation. The first one being our database. So how many listings are going to come from our database? Maybe we're like, one's going to come from our database. Okay. Secondly, we're going to always generate additional leads, seller leads from our listings. Our goal with every listing should be that we are generating a minimum of 3 additional leads. Hopefully one of those ends up being a seller lead. So when we look at leads from listings and how many people we're actually going to sit down with for a listing appointment, I'm just going to be kind of conservative and say 1, because I know I really only need 5 appointments. Then we're going to identify 3 more methods of lead generation. Okay, 3 more methods. In fact, you know what? I'm going to say, hey, I'm going to get 2 leads from my listings for seller leads. My 3rd lead gen method, it can be whatever you want. If you're like, Amy, what does that even mean? What's lead gen? If you dive back into my channel on YouTube and you look back in previous trainings, back last year at Christmas, I did 12 days of lead gen where we talked about like 11 different types of lead generation you can do, from open houses to social media to farming to cold calling. I don't even remember the other 7 choices that you had, but there's an endless supply. Okay, so there's no wrong or right way to lead generate. You might be lead generating for non-owner occupied properties. You might do some sort of lead gen for maybe your primary focus is seminars. Maybe you want to do like home seminars, and then maybe it's like, hey, buy up or buy down seminars, or how to leverage the current market to get the dream home that you always wanted, right? So you might be doing seminars. That could be one. You might be doing events, right? So there's all sorts of options. So for example, we're just going to say lead gen method number 3. I'm going to put in parentheses, open houses. I like open houses and I don't like people. So me saying I like open houses is a lot. Okay. They're really easy to generate leads from, in my opinion. And I'm going to say, hey, I'm going to generate 2 listing leads from open houses. Okay. When we talk about those 5 legs of lead gen, we got our database, or sphere of influence, your leads from listings. And then you're going to have those 3 additional ones, one which is going to be your primary focus. That's where we're going to develop our systems and processes. We're really going to dig in to master that source of lead generation. In addition to that, you're going to have 2 additional ones that you're kind of dabbling in and working, things that you want to grow over time, but we're going to develop those systems and processes, in this case, in open houses. Once we've mastered that, we've got a good system in place. We know what we're doing. We've got open houses scheduled. We know when we schedule one, what our 5-step process is going to be to get to that open house. We know what our follow-up process is going to be. And not only do we know what it is, but we're actually executing it on a regular basis and creating consistency in there. Then we get permission to begin building that next lead gen method. Not that we shouldn't be dabbling in it before, but now we can focus on systems and processes for that. So for 2024, let's say my second one is going to be, and again, you can choose your own. There's no wrong or right answer here. I'm going to say my farm. And then my 5th one is going to be social media. I really like social media for lead generation. I have generated so many leads from social media. I really enjoy it. And the best part is I don't actually have to interact with people face to face until we're actually seeing property. So it's fabulous. It's fabulous for people like me that are introverts and don't actually like hanging out with large groups of people, like in an open house. That's exhausting for me. Okay, so here we go. I'm going to generate 1 lead from my database and be like, Amy, my database kind of sucks. All my people, we've got like 20 real estate agents in my family, and they're going to have to choose me over my dad or my brother or whoever, right? So whatever it is. So I'm only generate 1 from there. Leads from listings, I'm going to get 2. Ultimately, for following the methods and practices, and we're going to have 5 signed listing agreements with 3 closed listings. We should generate at least 3, but we're going to say, hey, it's going to take us a while to get to that point in our business where we're consistently getting leads from our listings. So we're going to say, hey, we're going to get 2. And then I'm going to get 2 leads from open houses. This year, I'm not going to put a lot of focus into my farm and social media. I'm going to dabble in it, but I'm not anticipating to actually get appointments from it quite yet. Okay. And then notice here, we've got 2 + 2 + 1 = 5. So it totals how many appointments we're supposed to get. That's where we're driving our business from. Okay, did everybody see how we did that under listings? Does everybody know where your little reactions button is on your Zoom?
No. Yes.
There we go. Got thumbs up from Leticia. Fabulous.
Yes, I just found it.
Oh, look at this. Okay, if you're not going to talk to interact, I'm going to push you to give me little emojis. All right, thank you. I really appreciate it. Thank you, Mark. All right, so that's column 1. Column 2 is going to be buyers, right? We've got 5 listing appointments and we need 12 buyer appointments. Where are those buyers going to come from? It's the same rule of thumb here. We're going to have 5 methods of lead gen for buyers. It may or may not be the same as our listing lead gen. Chances are it probably should be right now. So we've got our database, should always be your number 1 form of lead gen. Okay, and then let's say from our database, we're going to have 3 buyer appointments. Okay, and then again, we should be generating leads from our listings. People are going to call on your signs. You're going to host those open houses. You're going to go door knock the neighborhood. You may circle dial around your leads. We should be generating leads. We should be posting on social media about our listings, right? So we're generating leads from those listings, and those leads should turn in. Again, I said you should probably generate, like, your goal should be like 3 leads per listing that you have on the market. And of those, a goal should be like 1 seller lead, 2 buyer leads. So it makes sense here that if we're going to generate 2 leads from our listings, for buyers, it should probably be like double that minimum, right? We should get like 4 leads from our listings. Okay. In addition to that, we've got our lead gen method. So again, your lead gen method may or may not be the same, or you may be anticipating different results. So our first one's going to be open houses, because that's what we had on our other list. So that's the one we're going to focus on first. And my plan is I'm going to host a whole bunch of open houses, and I'm going to anticipate that every person that walks through that door is going to be an unrepresented buyer that needs my business. And I'm going to get at least 3 leads from open houses for buyers. Okay. In addition to that, we've got lead gen number 4, which on the other side here, we're just make this easy instead of me doing that. We're just going to copy and paste. All right. So we've got lead gen method number 4 is the farm. I'm not sure I'm going to get any buyers from my farm this year, but I do think that I will probably get 1 or 2. Let's go 1 from social media, and let's bump this open houses. I really think I can get 4 leads from open houses. Okay, so we got 3 plus 4 plus 4 plus 1. That's a total of 12, correct? Yes?
Yes.
No? Maybe so. Thank you. Fabulous. All right.
Yes.
So, right? So if we need 17 appointments, now I've defined for 2024 where those appointments are going to come from. Do you think that's going to make it a lot easier for me to know where to focus my energy and efforts?
Absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely,
Yes,
right?
definitely.
Okay. Now, again, tomorrow we're going to drive this down even further for you, and I'll show you how to divide it up. So we'll cross that bridge tomorrow. But the last column over here is learn, grow, know, do. Like, what do I need to do or learn or know in order to get my business to one of those things? So one of those activities might be, hey, I should attend Summit, right? That's our big Realty One Group Fox conference that they have in Vegas in February. And maybe you're like, I need to attend Summit because then I can connect with I can make connections with other agents. I can attend some classes and kind of get some of those tools I need in order to host amazing open houses, or in order to figure out what I even should be doing for my farm, right? So maybe one of those things is attend Summit. Maybe it's just, hey, I need to attend the Rev Up series, right? Or maybe it is, I've got a special series coming at the end of December. It has not been released yet, but I just got a brand new book and I'm super excited about it. Oh, it's downstairs, so I can't show it to you even. But we're going to work through that book. Last year we did the 12 days of lead gen. This year we're going to do like 12 days of business building. So it'll be amazing. So maybe you need to attend that, or maybe you need to like rewatch the 12 days of lead gen so that you know what you should be doing, right? Maybe for you, your next step is you need to hire an admin, right? There's a certain point in our business where we should be hiring an admin. It's usually at about 12 transactions. When you're consistently closing 12 transactions, so 1 per month, then you probably should look at hiring an admin. And there's a whole process of what you should be doing to hire that admin and what tasks you hand off to an admin. If you're a newer agent and you're like, what should I do next? Maybe it's not hire an admin. Maybe it's hire a transaction coordinator. Okay, so a transaction coordinator might be your next step. So maybe you need to hire that. And so maybe it's looking into what does a transaction coordinator do? What does that take off my plate? How does that free up? So, right. So what do I need to learn, grow, know, do? Maybe you just need to use a database, right? Maybe you haven't been good at using a database or a CRM, a contact relationship manager. So maybe in order to run your business systematically and input processes into your business, maybe we need to use our database and figure out what system that's going to be, right? So what systems and processes you need to learn, know, grow, right, do in order to help move your business forward. That's what goes in this third column. So we have, how are we going to generate our listing business? How are we going to generate our buyer business? And what do we need to know in order to do that? Okay, questions about that? Hi, Kimberly.
Amy, really, oh, sorry.
Yeah, go ahead, Leticia.
I was trying to see the link that you sent to open the page to, you know, and I can't find it. I mean, I opened it, but then I lost it. I don't know where it went.
All right, it
was in the chat.
It was in the chat, but let me do it again. Because if you popped out and popped back in, then it doesn't always show back up.
Okay. Did you share it? Is it like on Google or?
Yes. So it's in your Google Drive.
Okay.
So when you, I just reshared that link. If you click on it again, it should open that document up and then you can save it to your Google Drive. Or once you've opened it, it should, once you go into your Google Drive, on the left-hand side, it should say shared with me. If you click on that, you should be able to see it once you clicked on the link once.
Got it. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. So your steps today before tomorrow's class is number one, if you have not yet completed your values, work through that. Again, you should do that with a partner. There's a whole class on that as well. So you can check out the recording on that one. Then complete your dream life form and the economic model. That's going to spit out what your transaction number should be for 2024. That's going to give you your goal. And then I want you to spend some time working on this GPS, your goals, priorities, strategies to define where your business is going to come from in 2024. Okay. And what you need to do. Where is my business going to come from? And what do I need to do in my business? Like in a nutshell, right? These aren't like the 5 steps into working my database. This is just like, am I even using a database? Do I need to hire help? What systems and processes do I need to know? Do I need to watch the lead gen? Because I don't even know really what forms of lead gen I want to be doing in my business. Yolanda, question?
Oh, I just was going to ask, I need to do all of this, but if you could, can you type it in the chat? Because I can't, I have to screenshot it real quick so I can go back and do that.
Oh, what you should be doing?
Yeah, well, what we need for tomorrow, by tomorrow.
Oh, yeah. So,
please.
yeah. So ultimately for tomorrow, you really need this GPS finish. And to get there, you need to do at the very minimum, your dream life form. Oops, dream life form. I can't spell, it's all right though. And your economic model.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. I'm going to screenshot it so I can go back to it later.
All right. Okay, doing the dream life form and the economic model, spending some time on that, figuring out what your budget is, what kind of income you should be generating or need to be generating from your real estate business, and then what you want to be generating for your dream life. That's inside that dream life form. Then it translates over to the economic model, which breaks it down with your how many percentage listing versus buyers in your business this next year you think you'll have. And then your average conversion ratios and closings. So if you have that data from this year, you can plug that in there. If not, you can utilize what's in there already. That's a nice safe bet. But if you have numbers, because you've had a lot of closings this year, or probably if you've had like 6 or more closings this year, then you should look at your data for this previous year to plug into that economic model. If you don't have that many closings, at least 6, I would say minimum, then you can just utilize that data that's in there as far as the averages. That's a pretty safe bet. So we utilized, I'm going to break this back down to 25%. Listings taken to listings sold at an 80% conversion ratio, listing appointment gone on to listing taken at 75%, buyer taken to buyer sold 75%, buyer appointment gone on to buyer agreement signed 90%, average sales prices at $550,000 for both buyers and sellers, average commission sellers at 3% and buyers at 2.5%. So those are pretty safe numbers if you don't have your own numbers to plug in. If you have your own data, plug your numbers in there. That's going to give you down here, it's going to break down how many appointments you need to go on, how many total listings, how many that's going to equal to as sold. And same thing with your buyers, right? So we took this total listings, total buyers. I just adjusted it so it looks a little different now, right? This is where this 13 plus 4 is what you're going to take and plug into here for appointments. Okay, and then closings. And then you're going to figure out what your strategies are going to be for both listings and buyers. We're going to define those. Tomorrow, we're going to take it and break it down further. Okay, we're going to take it.
Yes.
Go ahead.
I was just saying, yes, got it.
Okay, perfect. Yeah. So tomorrow we're going to take this and break it into a 12-week year, which is going to be actually looking at, okay, my database. What are my priorities and strategies around that database? What do I need to do in order to drive business from the database? Or, you know, what's your priority for developing systems and processes in Q1 of 2024? Where is my focus going to be and what are my priorities and strategies to get that done? So we'll break it down further come tomorrow and we'll talk about maybe what some of those are. So if you have this completed, it'll be really good because if you're like, Amy, what do I I don't even know where to start on this. We can dive into yours and discuss some ideas and options. Over here on this learn, grow, know, do, that's like totally just, I just threw in some ideas. You may be like, hey, I want to read 1 book a year or 1 book a month, right? Like that might be your thing. Like I'm going to work on growth or self-development, and I want to read 1 self-development book per month. Right. So when we break that down tomorrow, it may be like, hey, we need to define what 12 books we're going to read in 2024 so that we have them set and ready to go. Right. So it could be things like that. We're not limited in this column. It's learn, grow, know, do. Like what do we need to do in order to make those other things successful? Maybe it's like under learn, grow, know, do. Maybe you're like, I need to wake up at 6 a.m. every morning, or I need to be on my computer working at 9 a.m. every day, Monday through Friday. Maybe that's what you put in there because you're having a hard time getting going, or you're having a hard time being consistent in your work, right? Or maybe you're not very good at lead gen and you're like, man, I need to time block and lead gen 2 hours a day, 5 days a week. And that's what you're going to put in that last column, right? So where do you feel like you're lacking that's going to help you meet the goals under those listings and buyers? What tools do we need in place in order to make that happen? So that's kind of what that last column is for.
Amy, I have a question.
Absolutely.
Regarding social media, you had mentioned that you are a big introvert, and I am as well. And so I wanted to raise this question. You had mentioned that social media is your biggest asset in terms of lead gen. And when using social media, do you use primarily video, or do you use like informational statistical posts?
Yeah, so actually my primary objective when I look at social media for lead gen is I'm actually building relationships with people through social media. So number one thing I'm doing is I'm scrolling through my feed looking for people that may indicate they're thinking about buying or selling a house. One of my best deals was from just my feed was I was scrolling through and somebody was like, man, we need some ideas of some contractors that can help us enlarge our house and enclose our patio to make it living space in our house. Like we're busting at the seams, right? So they made that post. I turn around, I'm like, hey, have you guys thought about just selling that property and buying a bigger house? Like instead of going through the remodel process? And they're like, oh, I don't think we can do it. Right. I'm like, well, let's check. Let me run some comps. Let's talk to some lenders. Let's see what your possibilities are. Right. I got 2 deals out of that small conversation just based on scrolling my newsfeed. Okay, so that's one way I utilize social media is that I just scroll through looking for key indicators that somebody's looking to buy or sell. The second thing I do is I join groups, and not like the Travis Air Force Base homes for rent sale groups. Like I join groups that I have interests in. Like I have a big interest in horses. So I actually started a trail riding group in Solano County where we join together with other people who like to ride horses so that we can go ride horses together, because that's something I can do with other people. And it's something I have a lot of knowledge around. So when people in that group post, hey, where can we board horses in the area? Like, here's your 10 barns where you can board horses, right? So that's an interest that I have. So I've joined that group to build relationships. And through those relationships, I've now gotten transactions out of it. In addition, you may have kids, or you may enjoy fast cars. Like join groups with people. That's why I like Facebook, that have things in common with you, so you can begin building those relationships. Oftentimes through those relationships, it comes up that you have same interest and that you are a realtor. And then people are generally loyal in those groups of when you have people combined with the same interests. One of the other ones is I belong to there's lots of like Northern California horse communities and different things. So I've joined all these other like horse groups. Again, that's one of my main interests. And so people post in there, hey, we're looking to move to the area. Where can we board horses? Right. And so it's like, hey, do you want to board horses, or do you want to own your own horse property? Right. Oh, yeah, we really actually prefer to board. Like we travel a lot. Oh, perfect. So are you moving up to the area to rent or buy? Right now, we've opened up this conversation by me reaching out and saying, hey, here's the place. Do you really want to board, or do you want to buy? And, here's the places that you can board your horses. And tell me more about what you guys are looking to do. Are you wanting to rent? Right. We're building relationship and looking for those openings inside of that. So So that's how I utilize social media. I also have my business pages where we posts. Abby actually does all my posts for me. I don't do any of the posts. I can't even take credit for it. Sometimes I'm actually scrolling through my feed and I see a funny post pop up that's like real estate related. I go, that's really funny. And then I look at it and I go, oh, that's Shannon's. That means Abby did it. Right. So, we do post, we do make sure there are posts on our business page. So when people go to look us up, we have a structure there and there's content. And so we're alive and well on social media on our business pages. But when I talk about social media for lead generation, it's really more of on my personal page, me reaching out to try to find areas where I can build relationships. Again, going back to that, I'm really kind of an introvert. So I'd like to not have to, like, I don't remember who I was talking to. Charles. I was talking to Charles. He's like, oh, I talk to everybody. Like I walk away from the grocery store with a lead every time I walk in. And I'm like, my goal when I go to the grocery store is not to interact with one person in that store. I get in, get out, like I'm done. Like that to me is scary and exhausting if I have to talk to somebody at the grocery store where other people really enjoy that. And I can fake it. Don't get me wrong. I can fake it until I make it. If I was going to say, hey, grocery store is my lead gen method, I would make it happen. That's just not where I find my joy. So I use social media and I've gotten a lot of success from there because it's not that person to person interaction. It's just not quite as exhausting for me.
Thank you. That was very helpful.
You're welcome. Again, there's no wrong or right way to lead gen, right? Like if your bread and butter is like, man, I can walk into a store and walk out with a lead, like go do it. Like, please make that your lead gen method. Strategically make sure you appear at a store every single day of the week until you walk away with a lead. Like totally lead gen method. Same thing as open houses, same thing as working a farm, same thing as cold calling or doing events or activities, right? So it's all part of the business. Kimberly?
Yeah. So if we're talking about lead gen methods, I've started doing events, neighborhood events.
Yeah.
So I live in a build community and I'm the admin for my neighborhood Facebook page. And so I'm taking advantage of doing events because also I do get exhausted talking to people and like that. When I go to the park with my kids in my neighborhood, I'm like, oh man, people know me and I don't want to like have to hold up a conversation at the park. It's like my worst nightmare. But do you have any advice on events, on how to like make them fruitful?
Yeah, absolutely. And I would almost say, Kimberly, what you're saying is that you have more of a farm than necessarily events, but that your farm is based on events because you're specifically targeting your neighborhood, correct?
Correct. Yeah. So I'm farming my neighborhood. I'm doing events and then I'm also doing some mailers as well.
Cool. So yeah. So as far as events go, I think, there's a lot of options and I feel like, don't limit yourself, but I would start small and then work your way up. And I don't know what your current structure is, but doing things like your neighborhood garage sale is always a good one. And I would maybe aim for like one event per quarter, starting out like one major event, and then drip some smaller things in there that don't take as much energy, effort, and maybe activity. So like your neighborhood garage sale is going to take, I don't know where you are, but it's really pretty in your background today. So doing something like, like neighborhood garage sale, maybe capitalizing on National Night Out where you can utilize the neighborhood park and something that's already going on. You're muted. Kimberly, you're muted. I can see you talking, but I can't hear you.
Sorry. I'm
okay.
hitting on all of those things. So yes, all of those things. I just did a magnet that I'm going to drop off at everyone's door. That is an event calendar for the year. And I'm doing one a month. And so I'm trying to keep some of them small. Like this month, we're going to do a Halloween parade.
Yeah.
Throughout the neighborhood. And we're just going to like hop on scooters. I bought a little speaker. And we're just going to like make a little parade for kids. So that's not really going to cost me anything.
Yeah.
And some things are going to be bigger than others. So just as far like, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. So I was going to say, doing like one per quarter, I think as far as a big event, and then like monthly, like you said, like smaller events like the parade or even like a pumpkin carving contest or a door wreath contest or something like, whatever's going on for the season. that you can tie into to make it smaller. Even like drives, like people like to get involved in charity events. So doing like, yeah, coat drives, food drives, you know, SPCA blanket drives, or, you know, dog food drives for a local rescue. So however you can pull in the community into it as well, because then people feel like, oh my gosh, not only is she like trying to get my business, but she actually cares about not only our neighborhood, but the community. So just that, you could do like a dumpster day, you know, after the garage sale activity, where you could rent a dumpster and have it like in your driveway and people can bring their leftover crap. Or even Anastasia actually did this after her garage sale. She arranged for the Opportunity House or whoever it is to come do a pickup the next day or 2 days after the garage sale. So if anybody had stuff left over, they didn't have to figure out what to do with it. It was just give me your address and we'll have them swing by and pick everything up. So tying in things like that, I think would be key and ideal. I don't think there's a wrong or right thing. I mean, you've got young kids, so even like, hey, just like we do Friday play days at the park once a month, right? Like just something to like build those relationships with other people that you're really going to connect with as well.
And at what point do I start asking them for business? Because my big fear is that I'm going to dump all this money into these events and like be this neighborhood cheerleader, and then people are going to list their houses with other people.
Well, I would think you constantly want to make sure that they understand that you're a real estate agent. And I think it's more so than even asking for business. It's just posing yourself as the neighborhood expert. So I think continuing to keep them up to date of what's going on in the market in the neighborhood, in addition to the fun activities. I think being the go-to resource for anything house related, like having your vendor list available and ready, keeping them up to date of what their property values look like a couple times a year, doing all those things. And then just continually like, hey, who do you know that's looking to buy, sell, or invest in real estate, right? So it's not even necessarily like, hey, when are you selling your house? Because, right, we're creating this fun community that we want people to not want to move away from. So you don't want to constantly be like, when are you selling? When are you selling? When are you selling? Like that's kind of counterproductive in one sense. But then
my thought, our neighborhood is awesome, that'll increase the value of our homes because it'll be like more people want to live in that neighborhood.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So I think it's just more so just creating yourself and reminding people that you're in real estate, like making sure it's always like the event sponsored by Kimberly Moses with, you know, Realty One Group, Fox or whatnot. And always providing them opportunities to be able to have that communication and not being afraid that if you're sitting at the park having a play date with your son and somebody, you know, other people come from the neighborhood and then they start talking about, man, I'm really going to miss this place. Not hesitating to then take that conversation to the next step. Like, oh, what do you mean you're going to miss this place? Are you guys moving? Oh, you know, I would love to interview for the job. I'd love to earn the position as your realtor. Right. Perfect. So not hesitating to have those conversations as you build relationships. It's going to naturally come about that you're having conversations or people are going to have talks with you. So don't hesitate to ask for the business when it comes up.
Gotcha. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
I had a big dilemma because I did an ice cream social. So I wanted to do neighborhood night out, but I was out of town that week. And so I did an ice cream social instead. And my marketing guy was like, you have to get emails. Like you have to get people's contact information. And I feel really icky about that because they don't ever like to like make it about that. And he originally did my graphics as come meet your neighborhood realtor. And I was like, nobody cares about me. Like nobody wants to come meet me. And that's weird. Like, and well, so
no, come have ice cream.
What's that?
I said, you were like, no, just come have ice cream and I'll meet you then.
Like get to know each other. And then I would like go around and, you know, like have a cute t-shirt on or something like that. But yeah, I went really back and forth with that. But I think you're right. Just being in there, being the neighborhood expert. There was somebody who listed their home in the neighborhood and I was so bummed. It was like a gut punch because they were also one of my people who participated in the garage sale.
Yeah.
I reached out to her and I said, hey, you know, I'm just trying to establish myself as the neighborhood realtor. I said, what made you choose your real estate agent? And she said that she's had a 15-year relationship with them and they've bought and sold a couple of times. And she said that she does see me on social media, and had it not been for that relationship, she probably would have reached out.
Yeah, it's hard to beat somebody that's got a 15-year relationship that's gone through multiple transactions, but
But that's not
so it's always getting those orphaned ones and picking up those new people, and she even said it, like, she's seen you, so she realized that you're an agent and that you're doing business. She just has this other long-standing relationship, so that's really what you want to hear moving forward. So you just got to keep plugging away, and again, not being afraid to ask for the business and making sure that they understand that you are a realtor. But I do agree with you. It's not, hey, come to the ice cream social to meet me. It's come to the ice cream social to build community. And in the middle of that, I'm going to introduce myself as the local neighborhood expert, right?
Right.
Yeah, absolutely. I know that like Kristen Price is doing the food truck Fridays in her neighborhood as part of her farm, which is kind of fun and easy. I don't know necessarily easy, but she's not doing a whole lot with it. She's just inviting the food trucks, and then she kind of shows up with the food truck. So I like having a table available or something. So, make it fun and make it something that people want to get involved in. Like you said, if we make it an amazing community inside our neighborhood, it helps to drive the values up.
Yeah.
So it's a win-win. Cool. Yep. Any other questions?
No, I think they're all great ideas. I think, Kim, you're doing a really good job.
Thank you.
Yes, I agree.
I just hope it works.
An awesome hiking spot, by the way.
Thanks. We're in our my husband's family has property up north of Yuba City, near Collins Lake. So that's where we are.
Oh, nice. Fun. Super fun. So yeah, right. So so do your dream life form if you haven't done it. Do your economic model if you haven't done it, and then put together this GPS. And then we're going to take this GPS tomorrow and kind of dive in like we did with the social media, or Kim, and like talk about like what strategies are we going to have to generate leads on social media. It's like, what do we need to do in order to get there? And you'll do that with your couple of lead gen activities so that you know what your action steps are going to be heading into 2024. If there's no other questions, we will be done for today. I'll give you these last 11 minutes back to start working on this. Make sure you log your attendance. It's in the chat box. You can click that link. And again, if there's any trainings that you want to see coming up, we work on the new training schedule, put those in there. Sometimes we do special trainings as well. And then also stay tuned because, like I said, I'm putting together kind of a really fun end of the year, beginning of 2024 training to help you get unstuck and moving forward with a cool new book that I got. So I want to play with it. So anyways, thank you all for joining me today. I will see you tomorrow at 9 a.m. We'll take this and turn it into a 12-week action plan.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, Amy. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thanks, Amy.
No problem.